Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to PCM23 Lions. This is episode number 20, and we set off with what is supposed to be our strength, but last time we tried this, it went horribly wrong. It was the worst team time trial that I have ever had because of just how poor our team was and how spread out they were in quality. So before we wrap up our season, I wanted to get one more race in as an opportunity to feel this team out in the time trialing discipline. Right now we are set to just 82 overall. I need to see what does that do in terms of pressure. Now this team does not have quality as we quickly go down the line. Gibbons, 66 time trial. Mullebron's today, 67, 59, a 70 because of a +4 overall, 63, a 71, a 61. That's how weak this team is. And this, it's one of those special ones. It's Tour of Croatia. It's stage 5 of 6. And I quick sim the first 4 and I'll quick sim number 6. But this, it's a 40K time trial. It's a big one. And I've watched some of the other teams go out there and not do well. Not do well at all. But before I really get too far into this, I need to measure the effort we've put in so far and see how we're doing. And I need to see if I have a leader who's going to be focused on GC. But as we cross the line, 8th minute, 39 down, meaning we're probably not going as hard as we could or should. But I'm looking at this squad going, well, we really can't go much harder than this. Time's going to be taken on 5 riders, and I only have 4 that are doing okay. Really only have 3 that are doing okay. A 4th one that's on the edge, which means Samuels, as the 5th guy, needs to sit this puppy out and go for a ride. Otherwise, we do not have what's necessary to keep things pushing along. Zerai is going to be out early. Kudos is going to be out early. Do I want them out early? I still haven't taken the time to figure out what our team leader situation is going to be. Let's figure that one out real quick. Start from the top of the team. 100th overall. 18th for Mullebron, so 207 down for him. 113 for Samuels. So Samuels definitely needs to be that 5th guy that we are hanging on to. And he's already managed to get back into the positive side of things. Actually, we had that little bit of a descent, and that's really kind of helped the team across the board. Does that mean we can push a little bit harder and get an 83 out of these guys? I think we probably could make that inch more. Zerai, Kudos are going to get dropped here, but I think we can squeeze out an 83. Can Samuels squeeze out that 83? Because it's all about what can he handle as he's the 5th guy. 82, he wasn't handling well, but he was contributing. Without the contributions, he should be able to handle a little bit more pace, and we'll see if he can keep up. As I start to drop riders, as Kudos, as Zerai get dropped, it's going to push Samuels up the line a little bit. He'll be a little less protected. We'll probably have to back off to an 82 at that point. And here goes Zerai. Zerai is out, and there goes Kudos. So we are already down to our 5 guys. We're getting passed by another team, but this at least is not a disaster. It's not a debacle. It's not the problem we faced last time. We still have 12K to go. How is Samuels doing now? We had a climb here, and as predicted, it did get a little bit tougher. So let's back this off to that 82 now. We can only go as fast as we can go. Now, the good news here is these guys, even though they are flying past us, that's only 4 riders up the road. They've dropped too many riders. They don't have enough. Unless the calculation's being taken on the 4th rider, it should be the 5th. I'm going to have to go off of the assumption that it's 5, and Samuels is struggling to help. But slight downhill the rest of the way should just about set us up. The other 4 guys are all fine, even Gibbons. Gibbons is okay here. with what he's contributing, and it's just 5K to go, and you can see how we're now catching up to that team. They've slowed down a lot. We've at least been able to maintain pace here, and Samuels might just about make it over the finish line without getting dropped. And I guess if he does get dropped right at the end, we'll find out real quick where that fourth or fifth time is. But look at what happened with that second time check. We were only 12th at a minute 39 down at the first check, but we were 6th, a minute 38 down by the final check along the way. And Samuels out of yellow bar, but he's got that last little bit of red. And we can now up this to a 99 for the final push. Little acceleration there. Second place, 16 seconds. We managed our effort over the course of this race, and it set us up perfectly. I can't tell you whether it was Samuels, though he's on same time, so I'm assuming that was the time taken. He would have been at 18 seconds if he was the next guy. Kudos, Zerai. Yeah, they're losing time, but really, Kudos is 60th overall, and Zerai was 57th. Those guys don't matter for the time that they are receiving. So, awesome stuff. And actually, we don't even see it here. Kudos is marked as same time. He will very much not be same time. But from 12th and over a minute and a half down, we stabilize in the second sector, and we carry enough momentum to the finish line. Stable, steady speed, and not running out and not dropping our riders at the end. We measured a 40K time trial instead of a 10 or a 15, and through that we were able to maintain our momentum, and we jump all the way to second place. That's redemption right there. And I'm figuring this team out a bit on their time trial. The beauty of a 40K time trial is you have time to measure your effort, to figure it out, to make little tweaks. But of course, I started on an 82. We went to an 83 for a while, and we finished on an 82. I got lucky that I guessed right. Had I started at an 86, we might have gone too hard and hurt Zerai, hurt Samuels, hurt Kudos, beyond a point of being able to recover and measure and really have to back off, and we would have been a lot slower overall, because we would have faced the same problem a lot of other teams had. We would have been better in the first sector. We would have been 120 down instead of 140 down, but we would have had to back off, and so then we would have been the 130 down at the second sector, and we would have been 50 seconds, 40 seconds down at the end, desperately trying to slow down and see that finish. We got second as a team here, behind Movie Star. Okay, fine. It's freaking Movie Star. General classification, Samuels and Mullebron, a 1-2 at the head of this race. Beautiful work. Love it. I decided I am going to play out the final stage. The main reason is it wasn't just a simple sprint, but a intermediate quality cobbled finish. It's one climb, 3-star, but we hit it 3 times. A quick loop here right at the end of this circuit. So as we go inside 20K to go, we're going to have to be all hands on deck to protect, to defend. We don't need to win this stage at all, though we'll try if possible. But the main purpose here will be to not lose time with our 2 guys that sit at the top of the standings here on this final stage, because this is a great opportunity to score some points for the team and make some progress and maybe boost that training structure. We already know Eritrea is going to get a boost, but probably get a boost from Girmay. We do have a South African here in Mason Samuels on top. He's the one we need to focus on, certainly over Mullebron here, not only as he leads, but as we could get that individual bonus for Samuels. He's had himself at least a decent season so far and can see a pretty big jump in points from this. 16K to go. We're going to have to form up sprint train, but again, it's not about the sprint victory. It's going to be, though we will set up Gibbons if possible, it's going to be about protecting Samuels and protecting Mullebron ahead of him and getting through the other 4 guys to make sure that those 3 do see the finish line. Thought we had some space, but Shimway couldn't take it up, couldn't get forward, and we're going to hit the first one here. Not really in position, so Shimway winning where he can for now. I will have him push out that 99. You can see other teams are protecting their leaders as well. And that breakaway still not caught, though they certainly don't have a big advantage at this point. But Shimway has actually opened up a gap on his own. Now here comes Kudos and the rest of the team. Shimway, 11th overall, second in the youth standings. You almost want to just kind of sit back and let him ride, but we've got to catch that breakaway. We're going to switch to Kudos. Let a Shimway... Actually, you know what? Let's let a Shimway recover. I don't know why we dropped Kudos here. 8K to go. On to Zerai. There we go. Catching some of those breakaway riders, making our way quickly through that cobbled sector this time. Something we couldn't do previously. And we've split the field. We have split the field. Shimway. Shimway, do not follow. Do not chase for these guys. Force them to do it themselves. And we're at 5K. Aerophane. Push on. No reason to sit up with 4.7 and a gap. And still catching breakaway riders, which, speaking of breakaway riders, these guys are going to get caught and are not a threat. These guys are a little bit further ahead. Morris. None of them are a threat to the overall. But we are a threat. Actually, we already have the overall, don't we? 2.7, Aerophane. Sprinting. Soft sprint for him. Groups back together. Shimway. Try to get back on if you can. Actually, follow Kudos. Kudos can get up there. He's got the red bar to pull forward. 1.2. You're supposed to be sprinting, but it really doesn't look like it. Okay, on to Samuels. Breakaway is going to claim the stage victory, so we miss out on that opportunity, but it's not going to impact the overall. Would have been a 1-2 if not for the breakaway riders. We get 3 of the 4 guys that gain a little separation here as well. That was a good result. Either way, we did what was necessary to keep the overall race win and some quality points. Harsh calculation on the finish. We come in. Casper, looks like that never got fixed. Pedersen takes the stage win, so no wonder the breakaway had a chance. He's a pretty decent rider, actually. Not rated as well as I would expect him to be. Anyway, breakaway, between the technical, between the cobble, whatever the case may be, those guys stay away. We pull back half the time to them, but we blow up that group. That ultimately wasn't enough for the stage victory, but we do great with that 4-5-7, or really 1-2-4 in terms of the sprint, which locks up that jersey because those guys, the 48 seconds meant nothing as they were many minutes behind. The weird thing, though, is we had clear separation, absolute clear separation, but here's the key. They call it a flat stage, even though it's a cobbled stage, even though that was a punchy finish. But because they classified it flat, it's same time from 4th all the way down to 124th, even though these guys were a good 20 seconds ahead of David Martin in 8th. Even though there was gaps, lots of gaps, group after group after group, and should have been all separated. But because it's classified flat, it is what it is. But that's no matter to us, because what matters was hanging on to the top position, which we comfortably do. Samuels takes the overall, Mulleron takes 2nd, Shimway takes 10th. Aerophane also up in 13th, grabbing some points as well. Likewise, a 1-2-3 in the under 25s and a 1st in the team classification is going to be a pretty good haul for us here to wrap up the season. In August, when we did our signings, there were no reports that led us to want to sign any of the youth prospects. However, now that it's the middle of October, 2.5 months have gone by, and I've gotten a bit deeper and gotten more information about a number of them, and well, it's still not great in the grand scheme of things, but there's a lot of 18-year-olds left that we just have very little information about. But I do have 5 candidates that are pretty decent. I have good information, full reports on 4 of them right now. Carlos looks decent as a all-around. We're looking at 4.5, almost 5-star talent as a climber. Good time trial, so GC capability, also punchy, and I really like that he's decent in cobble and will have a good flat rating based on that Barrador. So we're looking at a guy who, yeah, okay, fine, he doesn't sprint. He's not going to necessarily win stages, but this is somebody who could be pretty competitive in overall. So I don't have the money to do it for the coming season, but I highly doubt that he's going to disappear and retire after not getting signed, and that he should be available to us to sign next year. But then this one, Matoni, is quite good as well. We're talking about better than 5-star climbing product. We're talking about better than 5-star time trialing product, even though it has him labeled as 4.5, but from the web it looks like quite good. Quite good. And this is not phenomenal. There's far better out there. This is not going to be Pogacar. This is not going to be Vingegaard. But this is going to beat a lot of riders. This is going to put you firmly Continental Pro and competitive and win races. Also punchy. Also cobble capable. Also flat capable. Also not much of a sprinter, but not awful. And with the punchy, he should have some acceleration that, unlike the other one who was more of the can win some overalls, can score plenty of top 5s here and there, this is one who can come out a little bit higher and win. And the combination of the two together at their peak should be pretty good. So we've reached the end of the season with Pogacar and Vingegaard, the top 2 in the rankings, neck and neck, and well ahead of everybody else, including Roglic. Go do Evenepoel as your top 5. Girmay ends up finishing 6th with 4,600 points this season. That right there is a ticket to an almost assured increase in training structure for Eritrea, meaning their 3rd point already, to all 3 of them coming from him really at this point. So we've really lucked out on one quality young rider. He's still only 25. Wow, look at those ratings. 82 acceleration, 81 sprint, 80 cobble, 76 stamina, 77 flat, 78 hills, so he can win in some different areas. Love to see it. Final total with a very, very blank August schedule and a pretty light September schedule, just a couple races at the end of the season. We fall a few spots. Our final position is 38th in the rankings, but it's still a big increase from where we were last season. Last season we scored 665 points. We have 1,672. We have increased our total by more than 1,000 this season, while still being a continental team, while having an almost identical calendar to what we had the year before. And the top end of the team ultimately was the same. The only real difference from last year's team to this year's team was that we had more depth at the top. And heading into next season, it's not much different either. But one thing has happened from August 1st to the middle of October, even though we've hardly raced at all. I'll tell you that one in a second, but first let's look at a couple more rankings. And that, of course, is the internal African rankings, where we are still the only team in the world based in Africa. Eritrea absolutely scored the highest, with South Africa 2nd, Rwanda, Algeria getting a little bit, Ethiopia, Namibia getting their first points, and we managed those 11. Senegal as well, with Morocco yet to get off the board, but it'd be nice to get some points for them. Girmay absolutely crushing it. Menkes, I don't think 886 is going to be enough to boost South Africa, though we'll keep an eye out. It's possible, but unlikely. Mullabron certainly isn't going to boost Eritrea. Germay is the one who would be triggering that. And it's those two nations in the top 8 spots. Algeria and Reguigui is the top guy. In fact, he scored all 171 points for Algeria. Shimwe gets the bulk of the points for Rwanda. I don't think that's enough. Eritrea picks up a few and is technically better rated than Shimwe, but we did more with less. Germay, as I suspect, hopefully here, that he will get that boost for Eritrea. It's the Tour de France where he picked up 1,200 points, another 1,100 at the Giro d'Italia, and Sanremo, he picked up 500 points. So those were the key areas where he picked up the vast majority of the points that he amassed this season. For us, Mullabron, it was Oman where he picked up 190, Slovenia 140, Croatia, right? We just saw he won, or no, he took second, right? Samuels was the one who won there. Let's see what Samuels got out of that one. Croatia, 129 points. So you win the race, and it's worth 129 points. Now, Germay does not win the Tour de France, but he does claim the green jersey. And you can see what we're working with and why scoring points and finishing where we did in the standings ultimately is impressive. Eritrea all the way up in 13th in the nation's rankings. That's impressive, but it still shows that there's a long ways to go outside of Colombia and the US. I think that's and Australia. It's otherwise all European nations. I have seen improvements to the squad. I'll show you those in a second, but we're still only 57th in the index, so we are nowhere near making Continental Pro. Beat Cycling, Coloquick are both dropping out of Continental Pro. So is Tartaletto, but the cutoff is, it's 36th. It's Tudor. We've got a long ways to go. A solid 3 stars is what it's taken right now. We're at 2.5. We're only a half star below where we need to be, and it's certainly possible that we could make it next season. But here's where things have changed for the good. Mullabron is still our guy on top, 3.5 stars. I had 3 of them at the end of the season. We early this season turned it into 4 guys. In the last 2 months, that's jumped to 6. And not only has it jumped to 6, but one of those 4 guys has leveled up again. The movement has all come from the younger riders, which is definitely a good sign. 23 and under for all of them. Samuels was 3.5 stars, but he had barely made it to 3.5 stars. He has now leveled up again. He's still 3.5. He hasn't progressed overall, but he has gotten better. He's a 72 mountain, 73 medium mountain, 72 stamina, 72 acceleration, 76 downhill. He's got a ways to go yet. There's definitely still some potential there, and I could see him hitting 4 stars at some point next season. If Roteyasir becomes our new leader, I will never joke about his name again because I'll adore him. However, maximum potential is just 4.5, and really a time trialing / Barrador specialist does not sit well in ever making him our leader, but he will be a very useful domestique for us. 74 time trial now. He's jumped to that 3.5 stars rating, 75 stamina, 73 recovery, 74 prologue. Those are good numbers for our team when 73 was the highest rating we had for anything at all. A 75, that's a couple points better. And lastly, Zerai. Zerai, if you remember, was our only original rider that we have held on to. He's only making 3.5, but his contract will expire at the end of last year. But he's probably worth hanging on to. In terms of potential, he's not far from it. In terms of quality, he's far from it. Mostly. 72 mountains, 74 hills now. He has seen his medium mountain finally climb a little bit. It was stuck in the 60s. It's now a 70. 70 acceleration. It's nothing to write home about. It's nothing to put your hopes and dreams of. But he could be an occasional domestique for us, especially as our calendar expands, especially as we hit Continental Pro. But he'll never be our leader anymore. He was early on, but those days are done. He did actually manage to get 2 wins this last year, and we can see just how much he has progressed from 66 medium mountain. So he's definitely coming along. So Mulebron did level up once this season at some point, but he really hasn't changed much from his former team. He was a 71, 73, 73. Here's the one to keep an eye on. Flat rating of 69. A year later, it was a 70. It's now 71. Moving up in the world. Stamina hasn't changed. Most of these attributes have not changed. Acceleration's a 74. I wonder... That doesn't even show up on here, so as it's a minor. Said it before, but I really wish that you can look at this screen and see a year-by-year analysis of your team, or at least beginning of year analysis, because it's showing us the analysis for next year's squad, which is great. But it shows the squad right now, today. So the development of riders over the course of this year, or from this stage a year ago, doesn't show up. And that's what I really want to know, is how were we a year ago versus now? How were we 2 years ago versus now? 3 years ago versus now? It'd be really nice to select point in time. And you don't have to keep all data for every day, every month. Just some sort of yearly tick would be really nice to be able to look back on as some sort of, like variable selector in here. That would be such a great addition within this game. I think that's going to be the first thing, or one of the first things that shows up on my video, which, speaking of, my video for future features is going to be coming out fairly soon. There will be a version of that is viewer features that you're wanting to see added to the game. I'll let you know when it's time to really hit it home on those suggestions, but feel free to start spitballing those in the comments below for this episode. But in the meantime, we are adding another 3.5 star talent for the coming season, so we're already going to be starting with 7 of them from up from 3 at the end of last season. That is progress. It had 4 throughout almost the entirety of this season. So to see that increase to 7 is going to be pretty incredible. And I'm certain that at some point we will finally have a 4-star guy as the season goes on, and maybe a couple of them, maybe a few of them. And maybe that's what we need to hit that, Continental Pro level. I'm not saying for sure that it's going to happen, but we are certainly climbing. We've certainly gotten better. And I fully suspect that the top end is going to climb. We've started to fill out what was our top end. It's more than doubled in size, but we still have that next step to take. But that quality of 3 stars, gosh, where were we at? We had the 2 3.5 star guys for a while, and then we pushed it to the 3 of them around the signing period. But then, how many 3-star riders did we have? 4? 5? That was it. We've now taken that many riders and pushed them up to join the 3.5 star talent from 2 to 7, right? So there's 5 right there. But then we've also replaced those 3-star talents with, 8 now? There's definite progress. It's just not rapid. One thing to combat that is I did go in and edit the database to fix or resolve a situation. There's only a single groundbreaking trainer from Africa, period, in the entire database. There are now 5. One of the African traditional trainers, of which there's a handful, and you don't need a handful, low quality. He's now a groundbreaking trainer instead of a traditional trainer. And then I took 3 Russian trainers because, why not, right? It's Russia. If there's one nation that deserves some punishment in the world, it's the US. But also Russia, more so. I took those three, changed their name, changed their nation to some African nations. They were all groundbreaking trainers of varying levels. So there's one of second, third, and fourth tier. So there's now one at each level that's available for hire. We only have so much money. We can't afford the best of them, but eventually we will. And definitely at the beginning of next season, or actually probably in November, I will hire at least a low-level groundbreaking trainer. So we'll have a couple on the roster, so we're actually going to have some better relationships. Even though they won't be great, it'll help us out. Because, again, finances are still pretty tight. But replacing our low-end traditional trainer who has two guys to work with that are maxed out and not getting any better with a groundbreaking trainer will make a big difference in the progression, albeit slowly. But anyway, our web, I'm liking the progress we're making. I do remember that in that season 1, we had like dead center in either 3 or 4 of the categories. And then you had one little spike in, I don't know, punchy, something like that. Year 2, we had the punchy part. We had the sprint part a little bit. We had nothing in cobble. We had nothing in time trial. And GC was fairly low. But now as we're entering year 3 or year 4, you can see the progress we've definitely made. We're adding to our weakest area now, the Northern Classics. We're getting better in that cobble rating. It's still not good. And we're still not good, period. But GC is okay-ish. But that sprint, that punch, that cobble, they still have a long ways to go. Time trial has definitely improved, though. I'm happy with the progress we're making, albeit at a pace that is problematic in the grand scheme of things, because the database in this game just grows and grows and grows, and it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. So the quality keeps improving. So making Continental Pro gets a little bit harder every year. Making World Tour gets a bit harder each and every year. And our progression right now is at a rate that we're not quite keeping up. I do think we will make Continental Pro in the not too distant future, though, regardless of that database getting deeper and harder. But when and where do we make World Tour? Well, probably once we have Gourmay just slaughtering it at the highest level and continuing to see that training and popularity rise in Eritrea, and we get the benefit of it, even though we can't afford to get him on our own team. That's going to do it for this episode and this season. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.